Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals rules against President Trump's executive order on travel restrictions and upholds the travel order suspension. President Trump responds. Listen to this.
So you believe the judges made a political
decision? We have
decision?
a situation where the security of our country is at stake. And it's a very, very serious situation. So we look forward, as I just said, to seeing them in court.
All rise. Judge Andrew Napolitano is with us. He joins us by phone. Judge, the handicapping said that the White House would lose this, but the thinking was 2-1. It was 3-0, unanimous. Does that change anything?
I don't think it good morning, Charles. Always a pleasure to be with you. And no one should adjust their television set. I was laughing like heck at that line. I don't think there's much significance in the fact that it was 2-1 versus 3-0. The oral argument was highly politicized. Look, one of these judges is a boyhood friend of mine. I've known him for many years, Judge Clifton, the one who sits in Honolulu. I thought he would be on the president's side because of his ideological predilections, I think, are towards the idea of a robust national security defense and a narrow reading of the Constitution. We have an area of the Constitution given exclusively to the president, foreign policy. Even the Congress has a secondary role. All it does is fund the State Department, confirm ambassadors, and ratify treaties. Everything else, the president makes those decisions. And Congress, to enhance that, gives the president tools, and one of the tools it gave him is the right to ban any immigrant or any group of immigrants for any reason he wishes, consistent with national security. For some reason, these judges felt that the president needed to justify by demonstrating evidence, proving in court the reasonableness of his immigration ban. That's absolutely inconsistent with the statute and the history of the statute. But if the White House is listening and they care what I think, I would say this: rescind the executive order and issue a new one. Issue one that's more bulletproof. Issue one that addresses the concerns of those who have caused him all this consternation, and get back in the business of defending the nation's borders rather than engaging in litigation.
And yet, Judge, there are more lawsuits coming, including one from Virginia that focuses more directly on the so-called Muslim ban, which last night this particular court said states have offered evidence of statements by President about his intent to implement a, quote, Muslim ban.
And those statements were made when he was candidate Donald Trump.
Right.
I have never heard in the modern era of a court taking as evidence something a person said before they were in office in the heat of the campaign. It's interesting you say another lawsuit is coming. The last time I checked, which I did for Chris Wallace last night, at about 6:45, there were 47 lawsuits. There's now apparently 48. Don't be surprised if the Chief Justice consolidates all of them so that they all are tried in one place at one time and before one judge. Otherwise, the Justice Department, which just got its Attorney General yesterday, is really going to be spread too thin, and the president's opponents are going to have a field day by challenging him before 48 different judicial minds.
Judge, last night the court, this particular court ruling, suggested that this order would lose in any future legal disputes. That they said the states offered evidence that temporary reinstatement of this ban would cause harm, irreparable harm, I think, to a degree they were talking about students. But, of course, we know 130 businesses also chimed in with the amicus brief as well. Has this changed the dynamics of the next legal hurdle? Does it make it more difficult for the White House than it might have been a week ago?
Yes. Yes, it does. If this case is going to be tried in the Ninth Circuit, if the Seattle case is the one that's going to be the paradigm of the 48, as opposed to the case in Brooklyn, where there's also a nationwide temporary restraining order, or Boston, where the judge said, this is the president's bailiwick, and I'm not going to substitute my judgment. If the rules laid down last night by the Ninth Circuit are going to govern the litigation of this case, then the Justice Department must come in with hardcore, solid evidence supporting the wisdom of President Trump's executive order. That is really not anything contemplated by the Constitution, that judges can scrutinize the president's evidence that he used when he made a foreign policy determination like this.
Judge Andrew Napolitano, thank you very much. We really appreciate it as always.
Pleasure, Charles.